What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. So today we're working again on my I did it all different, just kidding, customer's 2006 Sea-Doo Sportster. So long story short, what happened was this guy just hasn't driven it in about 2 years. Let's jump into it. So I'm gonna give you guys just an idea of when I buy something, or when it comes to fixing something that's been sitting for so long. What you want to do is just give it a general overview. For example, this 2006, from sitting for so long, the battery was dead, so we replaced the battery. So we do have a brand new battery in it, and the engine doesn't look too bad. Yes, there's a lot of corrosion and things like that. So I don't know if this thing starts or runs, but I'm going to show you guys the process of what I usually do if something's especially been sitting for so long, just to get this thing cranking and see how well it turns over. So let's jump into it. All right guys, so first things first, let's get, so it has oil, that's always a positive. I'm gonna take the cover off, put it to the side. So because this boat has been sitting for such a long time, what I typically do is I take all the injectors out, just like this. So that's not too pretty. For example, so there's definitely some water in the actual spark plug holes, but what we're gonna do anyway is we're gonna remove all these spark plugs, throw some fogging oil down, and let it soak. Definitely has some water and something electrically is going on. It sounds like the bilge pump's failing because it keeps trying to kick on. Okay, doesn't look too good. Alright, so a lot of water, hoping that it's not actually in the cylinders. Okay, so let me show you guys what we got. Now, I didn't stick a borescope down here, so I don't even have to. But if I shake this thing, I know it's hard to see, I'm going to shove a borescope down there. But we definitely have water inside these cylinders. You can see the rust build up. So first things first, let's stick a borescope down here, inspect the cylinders, see how much rust there is, if any. I'm hoping that it's just rust from the actual buildup of water from the top of the spark plugs, but let's take a look. All right guys, so borescope checks out. Now when it sits for so long, I like to douse it in this, so I'm gonna shoot a decent amount in there, just like that. And the reason why I do that is when engines sit for so long, you want them to be lubricated on that initial startup, especially if it looks like that. So let's let that soak for a little bit, and then we will turn it over in drown mode, hopefully, if it turns over. All right guys, been sitting for about an hour. Let's see if it cranks. Doesn't sound out too bad. That's a start. Let's throw some spark plugs in. So guys, a lot of questions when it comes to spark plugs on your Sea-Doo. So this is this plug that you need, but what you have to do when it comes to any of the Rotax motors is you want to do this. Just take that cap off, just like that. And a lot of you guys do not realize that's why the plugs don't sit on them, is you just want to take them off. So you do that for the rest of them, and we throw them in. Another thing I want to make note to you guys, when it comes to inspecting coils, especially if your Sea-Doo's been sitting for so long and not running, what happens is this rubber swells up and they actually crack. So these actually look okay, but you always want to inspect them, otherwise you'll get a misfire or crank no start. So as long as they're not cracked, usually they're okay. Obviously these just need to be cleaned out, so what I'm going to do, a little QV electric cleaner, and all of them. Now all compressed there. And that's it. Alright guys, so what we've done so far, replaced the battery. Once again, I am still hearing the bilge pump. I don't know if it actually has water. I see water and it's trying to kick on, or it could just be a clogged bilge pump. But what we did was the fogging oil. We checked spark plugs, we checked the cylinders, everything looks pretty good. Cranked it over, cranks over pretty well. I have our, and you probably just heard it, have all our coils in. Let's see if this thing starts. Maybe. So my guess is it probably has water in the gas, and that's the reason why it's not starting. So next thing, I'll show you guys how I prime that fuel just to try to get as much water out. It's showing a full tank. I can't really tell from looking at the tank. I'm hoping it's a full tank. So we'll prime it, we'll try to get any residual water out, and then we'll go to crank it again. Okay. So to prime the fuel pump, what you want to do is pull off this fuel line. There's going to be some gas, and you want to be very careful because these do get brittle sometimes. So you just want to work it one side, you'll see the tabs, and then the other, just like that. So now, double solo cup. Put it in, and then you're just going to pop the key in. Okay, so it's yellow enough. It may or may not have been enough to get it to start, but we're going to find out right now. Better. Gotta love old gas. Better. Okay, so we know that it runs. Really, the next thing that we're gonna have to do is probably drain most, if not all, of the full tank of gas that we have, and it should start right up. I'm gonna still try to get this to stay running with the old gas. I'll try some stabilizer or anything just to try to burn off what's here, but we're cranking. So it runs, not the best. I mean, the gas is still old, but now when it comes to maintenance on these boats, guys, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna suggest, obviously, what I'm gonna suggest is rebuilding the supercharger, which if it gets approved, I will show you guys how to remove the supercharger on any pretty much 185 to 260. It kind of goes to the 300 as well, but supercharger, oil change, probably fresh gas. I'm gonna offer to clean up all of this, you know, because I just wouldn't be a bad move to actually clean this up. But that should be it in regards to maintenance. There goes that bilge pump again. So other than that, everything else seems to be working. Lights, well, half of them do at least. Bilge pump works, and the blower is no good. So with that, we'll check fuses for those, but that's it for general maintenance.